Once again, we're out here in Staten Island Airfield, and today is a beautiful fall day, although the leaves around here kind of are brown now, so can't fly in really beautiful fall foliage at the moment. But either way, what I want to talk about today is related to flying in fall foliage, because a lot of trees are really tight and technical, and so to get those kind of creepy, flowy in-tree shots like this one right here are really challenging to get with a traditional drone, whether that's a 5-inch or even a 3-inch cinewhoop. They're really challenging to get in to tight spaces and get those shots that you really want, which is why today I want to talk to you about a new drone that I've been flying for the past couple of days, and in and out of trees in particular, and that is the Mobula7 HD1S. I think that's the actual title. Either way, link below to the actual drone itself, but either way, this drone is a fantastic little drone for going in and getting those kind of shots. It's not perfect, and we're going to get into that in the con section, but I really wanted to talk about it today because now that I've had experience flying this, flying my Skylight, flying my full 5-inch drone in trees to try to get those beautiful sweeping cinematic shots of the interior of a tree, really there's not much better than a whoop. Whether that's going to be a small 2.5-inch cinewhoop carrying a lightweight action camera like the GoPro Hero Bones, DJI Action, Insta360 Go, Runcam 5 Orange. What am I missing? Oh, the Thumb Pro 4K, whatever that guy is. Those 2.5-inch ducted cinewhoops are great for grabbing interior of a tree shots during fall. The only downside is they're still a little large. So if you're flying in really small or really tight or really dynamic trees, and by dynamic I mean if there's wind blowing, those drones are going to struggle a lot. And also because they're heavier, when they fall out of the tree, they're going to get damaged easier. And so for me, I realized I want the lightest possible drone I can get, so that way I can get into the tree, do my little weaves and swoops and flows around, get out, and even if I do have a crash, it's still lightweight enough that I'm not really worried about breaking all that much. So let's get into it. The Mobula7 HD, let's talk about the pros, the cons, get in a little flight footage here and there, and kind of go over why I think this is one of the better drones if your intention is to go out and get some fall footage of the foliage. I think in general, if you want a small HD whoop, I think this is also really great, but I'll get into that in 1 second. Let's jump into the pros, starting with the drone itself. It has long been the case that the Mobula6 and the Mobula7 are fantastic little drones. Happy Model does great build quality. It's really good performance-wise and build quality-wise. I know it's not going to be perfect, but I've had really good experiences so far with all of their products. They work really well, they're easy to use, easy to get off the ground, bind, and they're ready to go. And honestly, even the tunes that are on board, they do little things like they set the arm angle to 180 degrees, which is something I usually have to do when I get a new bind and fly. So that's why I think it's actually a really well built, really good quality drone. Number two is the camera itself. It's a Runcam, I think it's a Runcam split, or it uses a separate DVR little board, but it basically does on drone recording from that camera in 1080p. It is not the best image, it is not a perfect image by any stretch of the imagination, but it is a really solid quality image. It's not like your standard analog DVR where it looks all fuzzy and like it came off an 80s TV. The camera produces really good images. The color of these images and the exposure is pretty good. It's definitely on the overexposed side, and you do have a little like joystick thing that comes with the drone that will allow you to upload. That will allow you to adjust some of those settings and bring it more to your liking. On top of the camera itself, there's also the added addition, man, that's a mess. Either way, there's an additional board on the bottom that is there part because it needs to have a better 5-volt regulator, so that way the little 1S battery can provide the correct voltage to run the camera's DVR and the camera itself. but also it has a gyro black box data recorder there. So you dump an SD card in that guy, and all of a sudden you've got the gyro information for the quad, which means you can then take that information, plunk it into GyroFlow, and you've got stabilized footage from a 1S whoop. And I think that right there is a game changer when you're flying in very tight, very small places, and you want to get that smooth, flowy, crispy footage. And that's why I think the camera system entirely, the gyro data, the recorder itself, and the camera together make a great little package. Next pro is going to be the actual flight performance. It's pretty good for how much it weighs. It cruises around well. It handles wind okay, like the light breeze that's going on right now. It's fine in that. Too much more than that, you are going to run into some issues. But overall, it is a fantastic flying drone and does a great job of handling some less than ideal situations, which is really important. And because it's a little heavier, it is very stable. So when you're flying it in, again, those very tight situations inside of a tree, it does a wonderful job. Last con is its lightweight. Because it is so small, so light, even if you do have a crash or it has a fall, it really doesn't damage a whole lot. Both what it hits and itself, it's pretty durable to start with. And because of its lightweight, you're really not going to have too many issues where it breaks. And even if you do break it, most of the parts are pretty standard throughout the Mobula line. So getting new motors, getting a new frame, getting anything like that, pretty much good to go. Now let's jump into the cons. And starting off, let's keep going with the same weight idea. And I think the weight is a little bit of a disadvantage and a con. Because it's a little heavy, it has all of the extra pieces, that DVR board, a physically larger camera, that GPS data recorder, 2 SD cards on board. The drone is a little on the porky side, and so for those little bi-blades and 802 motors, it doesn't feel as snappy, as sharp, and as kind of aggressively pointy as either the regular Mobula7 or the Mobula6. So this is definitely not the quad you're gonna win a whoop race with. This is a quad that really is specific for getting footage in those tight to reach, hard to kind of get to spaces. And because of that, I don't think it's completely a con, but the weight does affect the flight performance. There is no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Another major con for this little drone is that camera is fairly limited when it comes to settings. There's not a ton of frame rates. You're basically stuck to 1080p. I believe it's 60 frames per second. I need to double check that. If it's not, here's a little image of what the actual frame rate is. But there's not a ton of adjustments when it comes to exposure, color, anything like that. So it's really not going to be like pro level footage. I mean, the bit rate doesn't even really get close to where you'd actually want it from professional footage. This is really if you're going out to grab some clips for social, or you want to, again, grab a clip that you cannot get any other way, this can be a great little option. It's a great little thing to have in your tool chest. By no means would I say this is the only whoop you should have. This should just be part of your drone quiver, however you want to call it. Some of you are going to find this next one a con, others, this is not a con. It only comes in analog. So there's no digital variant, there's nothing from Walksnail, HD0, although I think there is an HD0 one on its way eventually. And no, obviously DJI. So it's only gonna work with analog equipment. So if you're into flying a digital FPV drones, then this is not the product for you, unless you use like a Digi adapter on your DJI goggles, or you have HD0 goggles, because those can have that attachment. Again, not everybody's gonna find that a con, but if you do fly digital, this whoop is not for you, which is kind of unfortunate because it is a super fun whoop to fly. Last con is that the flight controller in there doesn't have a ton of UARTs, and because you're running that gyro data recorder, you're running that DVR board, the camera itself is kind of crazy, you don't have a ton of options to add external receivers. So you're basically stuck with either FreeSky, some of the built-in receivers, which I believe are FreeSky, or there is the option for Express LRS, which is what I use. Express LRS works good enough for me, so it's not really a problem. But if you wanted to add your own receiver, or you're using Crossfire only or Tracer only, that may be a problem. Another piece to that same puzzle is the Express LRS is an SPI receiver. And if you've been watching anything around Express LRS for the past couple of months, you'll know that you cannot update to 3.0 on your radio because it may not work with that 2.0 Express LRS receiver unless you go to like a nightly build in Betaflight. Either way, there's some headaches right now because the SPI receivers cannot be updated independently from Betaflight because it's built into that flight controller board. So if you are flying Express LRS as your primary control link and you're already on 3.0, do know that you're gonna have to do some funkiness to try to get that to bind with your radio. Again, not a huge deal for everybody, not a huge deal for, I would even say most people, but if you are into Express LRS and you are already aware of this issue, yes, it is 100% the same issue with that drone. And again, because there are a few UARTs on that flight controller, adding an external or your own receiver is a little bit more challenging. Even if you could, I don't know that I would want to add much more weight to that quad because I think it would really compromise its flight characteristics even more than it already is. Sorry that was a long-winded one, but either way, those are pretty much the cons for this drone. Overall, I think it is a great flying drone. It's a great little addition to your cinematic drone quiver, or just a fun little drone to rip around and grab some HD footage that you can share on social. It is a little bit better, I mean, it's a lot better quality than what you get from your Goggle DVR. So again, if you're looking to share some content online, that is a great way to do it with a Whoop. And that pretty much sums it up for this drone. It's a fantastic little addition to your quiver of drones. If you have analog goggles already and you have Express LRS or FR Sky already, this is a great little drone to pick up to fly around, especially around the fall and holidays when you're gonna do some indoor flying and you want that crispy, beautiful HD footage. Or if you decide you want to get risky with it and do some guerrilla whooping, which basically just means going to a place you really aren't supposed to fly, like a Target or a Whole Foods or an IKEA, check out Bot Grinder's channel in the video here for some guerrilla whooping action. But if you want some HD footage from some guerrilla whooping adventures, this also is a perfect little drone for you. But either way, that's all for today. Links to the drone itself, any videos that I mentioned in here are down below. All of the links for the products down below are affiliate links. It doesn't cost you anything extra, but it does give me a little kickback from Amazon, and it helps me grow this channel, helps me do more things, do crazier things, build more things, all of that song and dance. As everyone on YouTube says, please subscribe to my channel so that way you know when new videos drop, and hit the like button and leave a comment. Let me know if you've flown this drone before. Let me know what your favorite small little like cinewhoop type drone is for capturing that indoor footage or that close proximity footage, or just what do you fly during the winter. Let me know any of those or any questions you have about this drone or any of the other drones I've ever talked about down in the comments. As always, thank you for joining me in this video. I will catch you in the next one. Bye.